Wait, hold on. How long has it been? 2 years? That is wild. My hair is still drying. Well, by the title of this video, I will be sharing my testimony with you today. I've made so many notes because I think like what's overwhelming me about this is I want to put everything in here. I don't want to leave out important details or forget to say certain things that I do want to mention. So I have them kind of sitting beside me, and I will, if I'm looking to the right, I'm just referencing kind of things that I've written down that I do want to speak on. I'm also going to turn off my notifications here. I think where I need to start is how I was brought up, and I was raised evangelist Christian, and I was baptized when I was a baby, and we would go to church mostly for bigger occasions like Easter, Christmas, and then in Germany it's called confirmation. I'm not sure what the ceremony is called in English, but it is, I think I was 13. I hope I have like the years right, but I was 13. That's when you decide that you want to belong to the church and you want to be with God, that you make that conscious choice yourself. And so leading up to that ceremony, you have to complete a certain amount of hours in the church. You have to also complete a certain amount of hours in your community doing community work. And you have to go for like little meetings, and you have to learn things. You have to read the Bible and come together as like a group to, just discuss certain things with your pastor. And you also go on like a little trip where you also just like read more of the Bible and do those kinds of things. However, with that ceremony, when you do decide to do this, your family gives you a lot of money. So I feel like in my heart, I wasn't purely doing this ceremony for God or wanting to be a child of God and deciding that on my own, but mostly because I knew I was going to get a lot of money and a little party. And I really did enjoy the time that I spent in church because our pastor was a little bit younger and he was very good at making things relatable and funny, and it wasn't dry. But I do remember as a kid when I was like smaller and I would go to church, I think the story of Jesus being put up on the cross, there was a lot of paintings in the church that were quite disturbing for me as a little kid, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And so I think there was some fear related to church as well. But we weren't, like, I wasn't raised in a household that's super strict when it comes to Christianity. My parents were very lenient and very open with me going with what feels right for me. However, my aunt, who's a little bit more on the spiritual side compared to my parents, she had a crystal shop, or still has a crystal shop actually, and she sells, tarot cards, books, things that are more new age related. And when I say new age, just practices that are not rooted in the Bible and that are spiritually practices that you choose to have spiritual experiences with. And also in a certain sense, you're replacing God with those practices. And so I feel like I've kind of grown up with like a broad spectrum of different spiritual and religious practices. And I've definitely also been drawn to the spiritual things. Like my aunt would have aura photographers come to the store, so I would take aura photography and would see like these different colors around me. So my mom literally just like educated me, I think like last year, because I didn't even know what a lot of the things that I was feeling were called or labeled. And so my mom always knew that I was a highly sensitive child, meaning that I feel literally everything, and I can sense things about people that they might not even know about themselves, and can be emotionally very thrown and very affected by my environment emotionally. And so also like in a sense like telepathically like could communicate with my mom as a like teenager. Like sometimes I would like literally like be on the bus and I'm like, oh mom, I just need you to make this meal for lunch, and I would come home and she had made that meal. Very interesting. So that was my upbringing. Then when I moved to Canada, and I moved to Canada for my ex-boyfriend / ex-fiance, and when I moved here, I completely lost touch with church and my religion and spirituality as a whole. His family is quite atheist. They don't really believe, or parts of his family, they don't believe in God or anything for that matter. So I kind of just took on their kind of lifestyle, if that makes sense, and basically didn't really practice any kind of spiritual things or religious things. Didn't really take care of my soul in that way until 2016. I think it started 2016, which if you are a New Age practitioner and you kind of know about like astrology and things, when my Saturn return started, I started feeling empty, and I started feeling like I didn't know what my purpose was in this life. And what that kind of led me to was taking Reiki sessions from someone that is now one of my really good girlfriends, and she's absolutely a beautiful soul, very intelligent, and she was the one that kind of introduced me to a lot of the New Age practices. And so every time I would go in to get Reiki done, energy healing by the way, if you don't know what that is, one of the first things that I started exploring on a deeper level when it comes to more New Age practices is human design, which is mostly, I mean, like it's combining a lot of different things like astrology, energy, auras, like past lives. Like there's a bunch of things that go into this chart, and the chart basically categorizes all of us into different energy types and like what we're here to do and how we interact with each other. And for me, it was really interesting because I've always also been very interested in people. Like I love learning about people, I love understanding people, how they work, what are their patterns, like what are they doing. And I actually, when I first moved here, I wanted to get into psychology, so it just made sense for me to like dive into human design first, to just have something where it was honestly a bottomless pit. A lot of the New Age things, I think that's what it is a bottomless pit of information, and you'll never, or the way I felt was I was never getting to a point where I've learned it all and I understood it all, and now I don't seek more information, I don't seek more outside of myself, and I could get lost like in black holes of, you know, energy charts and like all of these things. However, that was like the first time that I like feel like I had a spiritual awakening, and since then I had a few more smaller spiritual awakenings where now I like understand I was just coming into like my consciousness and like actual awareness of me as a human having this experience here. And so in 2019, when we called off the wedding and broke up, I obviously fell into like just probably like for a good month into like self-pity party on the couch, into depression. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I was just incredibly emotionally upset because I wasn't ready to let this relationship go, even though it was really not good for either of us. It was very, and I don't want to say toxic, that word is so over, or like toxic relationship is so overused, but it was not good, and that cycle needed to be broken. However, coming out of that, I had another spiritual awakening where all of a sudden I was giving gifts, and those gifts were basically just amplified of like what I kind of, you know, had within me, where I could feel people, I could feel what energy they were in, what they were thinking, what they were feeling. And so I started offering card readings and channelings, and I actually started doing rituals, and I would call upon spirits, my spirit guides, my grandmothers, ancestors, like aliens. I don't even know what I was calling on to do these channelings, to receive more information about people or myself. And those practices really, and I didn't understand that till I came home to God. But what I did with the tarot card readings, the channelings, the rituals, I was opening portals, I was opening spaces like in between here and the spiritual realm, and things were coming into my life that were not of God. And this, I feel like this video is going to be so complex, and like I feel like my mind is going so fast, and I'm like trying to like bring everything together. But the way Satan works, okay, there is good and evil. Just as there is black and white, there's light and shadow. Everything needs a counterpart, right? And the way I've understood, because God taught me, he explained it to me, and the way I can see Satan working and the way he likes to work is he studies all of us. He knows exactly all of your weaknesses, and to basically rope you into certain practices that are definitely not of God, but more so of Satan. He will give you little things, like little powers of like being able to tap into a person, to channel a person, to have supernatural powers of some shape or form, but just the tiniest amount, so that you crave wanting more, and he leaves you wanting more. And so you keep going down that rabbit hole of like new age and spiritual practices, because like at some point they don't work any longer, and then all of a sudden you question your worth, and you question, oh, why can't I no longer tap into this person? Why can't I spiritually connect to my guides right now? Like something must be wrong with me. But really it is Satan behind the curtain. That's like it. He's giving you a little breadcrumb, and then you eat that breadcrumb. There's no fucking loaf coming after that. You know what I mean? So I really just got into the habit of constantly needing more, seeking more, needing more validation. And also it was feeding my ego. And I didn't realize that until after, how I was basically, I was worshipping not God. I was worshipping his creation. Like I was worshipping nature, I was worshipping crystals, I was worshipping like sage and like other things, just things. I was idolizing things. I feel like it just threw me into a cycle. And the cycle was, I would acquire a gift, supernatural power, and that thing would tell my ego, oh, you're here to serve a greater purpose, like you're here to serve the collective with this gift. And then I would get to the point where I would realize how I am not capable to save everybody, and I'm not capable to help everybody on this planet. And then when I would get to that point, I would fall into really bad depression, to the point where I didn't want to be here. Because also in my mind I was like, oh my god, like we're ascending, like consciousness is being raised, I want to escape the 3D. Because I was astral traveling. I to the point where I could do it cold plunging. I've been doing a lot of that. And to not feel the cold in my body, we would like go to wherever we were cold plunging, we would do a meditation before we would get into the water. I would, in the meditation, leave my body so that I couldn't feel the cold on my body and could stay in longer. And I was doing literally any time before bed, because I was like, oh, like I want to get away from this planet. This planet is not, the 3D is not what I want. Like, it's so limiting. Like, I can't be more. And it was just this this constant like needing more, wanting more. And I would just astral travel while I was sleeping. I would feel really uncomfortable here, to the point where I was like, I'm not human. Like, I need to leave this meat suit. It's limiting me and my abilities. And so yes, so basically I would get to the point where I didn't want to live anymore, and I would be told by spirit or other psychics and things like how often I have had reincarnated and how many lives I still have to go, and it just, life felt painful. It felt like I literally didn't want to be here. And I would go through this like seeking, acquiring, depression cycle, like probably once a month. And it's just such a dark place to be, where you don't want to be here. And I, in July? In July, I think, yeah, it must have been, like, it was in the summertime last year. I went on a trip with one of my good guy friends, and I'm gonna actually link his testimony underneath here as well. And he was very much in the same kind of realm that I was in. He was doing a lot of breath work, just like me, meditation to have spiritual experiences, and like, we went on a trip to Banff and a bunch of other places, and he had also brought another friend of his, and she was also in the same kind of like channeling. She was channeling things, she was feeling things, very highly sensitive as well, and very empathetic. And we together did a lot of mushrooms, and up until then I've had done mushrooms before and microdosing and other things. But yeah, so basically the trip was just meant for us to like have a lot of those like spiritual experiences that are going to reveal things and give us things that we don't, that basically saying like that this life is too plain and too boring, and we need more, we want more. And so there was a lot of like meditations and whatnot, and just the entire thing was just an exchange of information. And that's also when I started watching Gaia. That platform is the devil himself. If you needed a black hole that leads into literally nowhere, it leads nowhere, because you will never get to a point where you get the freaking answers. Like, you don't get any answers. It's like it's leaving you hanging all the time. And really, that's just like that kind of thing is pulling you away from connecting with your actual soul and connecting with God and with what is already within you, because it's a distraction. It's a deception, and it's a distraction. And shortly after that trip, I just like got back home. I continued doing, I also need to like mention this, I hosted a lot of full moon circles, because I was like, I need to like share my gifts. Like, I need to, bring people, women predominantly, into a circle setting, and I need to do some channeling work for them, give them information, doing rituals, doing things. And to the point of like, this is like extremely like witchcraft situation. I had a phase where I was, and like, but the phase still gave me something good, because I'm actually like honoring my body differently. But I learned a bunch about, I was like starting to use menstrual cups for my period. And so then on a crazy spiritual, I learned that, basically you can do rituals with your period blood, and to like bless the ground, or like pour back into nature, because full circle, yada, yada, yada. So I actually, at one of my full moon circles, I brought like a bottle of my period blood to bless the ground we were sitting on. But also I don't know, that's the thing too, I had no idea what kind of spirits I actually like invited in. And that is also part where I feel responsible and a little bit of guilt, because I've brought people into that. And I think I'm still working through that as well. And also like with my personal clients, because like for the longest time, my life coaching wasn't just life coaching. I was channeling shit. And I was giving people information and being much more down that road. And I just really, I'll probably, before I go to bed tonight, I was gonna pray for all of my clients to just remove any strongholds and any kind of spirits, any kind of thing that has slashed on. I also I myself was a participant also in goddess circles as well. So again, you'd go there for like rituals, you'd do mushrooms or hepe or like other things to like induce spiritual experiences. And again, I have no idea what I opened myself up to within that, what has like come in. But really, what all of those experiences, I understand. The way God created me is I'm a black and white person. I'm an all or nothing person. So for him to really, really show me the difference, he needed me to see all the things that I've seen, the things that I've heard, the things that I've experienced in the spiritual realm. Like he needed me to understand the spiritual realm so that I could understand how he is the only thing in the spiritual realm that I should be putting my eyes on, and how he works and how he works here in this realm, which is being a human. And it was the biggest humbling, because I finally understood that like with all of the new age practices, I was trying to lift myself to like goddess status. And still and I just say this with love, like I have no problem with people like saying that, but I will not comment back. A lot of people still, when I post certain images and photos on social media, they'll comment, oh my God, you're such a goddess. But for me internally, that word has no connection to me any longer. So for example, my life coaching business started as the graceful goddess. And so I needed to understand that like God has no equal. I was trying to be his equal by acquiring abilities and by channeling, being able to talk to spirit, doing things that are technically humanly not possible, and just having to humbly accept that God made me a human to be a human and to worship him, to not worship his creation. Just before, I think it was just after my birthday in September, that friend I had met in the summertime, she was like, oh, like, let's go for food. Like, I really need to talk to you because I feel like I've been misleading you. And I was like, what are you talking about? So we sat down and she shared her testimony with me and how she had come home to God. And just by hearing her testimony, it instantly clicked. I was like, oh my God, the answer I have been seeking since 2016-ish is God. He is the answer to any and all of my questions. I'm gonna cry. It created, I'm so sorry. I understood that he has been there all along. If that's if that's protecting me in certain, like I was in a really crazy accident and I had not even a scratch on me. The car was totaled. I thought I was gonna die. My last thought when the car was rolling into the ditch, I was like, this is it. And I'm here. And I didn't even need to really go to the hospital. There's also been other moments where I would cross the street and somebody almost ran me over. That probably happens at least once a year, twice a year. Not to say that I'm stupid when I'm crossing the street, but people being stupid drivers. God is always there. It's literally he's just holding his hand out. He's like, no, not this one. As well as, I don't know if I'm gonna make a video on this, but in my, I've shared it on Instagram, but my sexual assault story, he was the one that interfered to the point that it didn't go to an extent where I feel like physically, mentally, emotionally, I don't know how I could have come back from. The other thing too, when I was in New Age practices, I was understanding the clair gifts. So I understood that I was clairsentient because I could sense things, clairaudient, I could hear things. When I would be in session with clients, I would just hear stuff come in and through me, and I was just I was the vessel for the information was running through me. But there was something within me where I was like, I want to be clairvoyant. I want to see things, not in this realm. I want to see spirits. I want to see more. I want more. It was that same energy. And it's so funny. God is really funny. He would literally be the one with his hand just over my third eye. He would be like, honey, no, just no, stop it. I'm not letting you. I don't want you to see stuff. And I'm very grateful for that because I've spoken with a lot of other women that do have that ability. They see things and it freaks them right the fuck out. I'm very grateful that I can't. But I was just so forceful. I was trying to get there. But I understand that God was there all along to shelter me, and he was protecting me from it. And when I sat down with my friend for my birthday and we talked about God, it just, this weight fell off me. There was peace. I felt at peace. I felt like I didn't need to search anything any longer. And she then brought me to church, which is still the church that I go to now, and I really love that church. Love Quest International. I will link it in Vancouver. And it was just, I stepped into the church, the first worship song that came on, I feel like the first entire thing was just I was just crying because it just felt like I was actually home. And I was being understood and I was being cared for. And it's so simple. It's so simple. And I've been looking for something so complex for so long. And just having this simple answer that really all I needed to do was come home. And he's funny. He is talking to me right now and he's like, honey, you just needed a little more time. You just needed you needed the scenic route. You needed to see all the things. Your really complex mind could understand what I needed you to understand first. So that this right now just is the one thing that actually makes sense. That is the most real thing. And and this is how it works, okay? So if you're in New Age practice to the point where the enemy has a good hold of you and you are leaving, you are exiting the stage, you best believe they don't just let you go. I was tormented. I experienced spiritual warfare for almost a month. I couldn't sleep. I would be woken up at the same time, exact same time, every night, just literally filled with fear and so scared. Like I could not sleep with the light off. With the lights off. That's what I wanted to say. And I just couldn't go back to bed because I could feel there was things in my room. And besides that, I have had a history of sleep paralysis pretty much since I moved. I've never had it before, but when I moved to Canada, it started. And I don't know if you've ever experienced sleep paralysis, but the way sleep paralysis works physiologically is your mind wakes up. I don't even know if that makes sense, but like your body hasn't come out of the phase where it's basically paralyzed so that you're not acting out your dreams, but in your mind you're awake and you think like it'll literally be like I'll be like getting out of bed, I'll be walking around, I'll be making breakfast, and all of a sudden I'll realize that I'm still in bed and I can't move. And maybe out of like, I don't even know how many thousand sleep paralysis moments I would have, maybe 3 out of those, it would be just very chill. Not chill, but not like torment. But all of the other ones would feel like something would be on my chest, like pressing me into the bed, choking me, things standing at the end of my bed, sometimes to the point of like sexual predator energy in the room, but also like even though in my mind I was like moving, but like I couldn't move, I was being chased by something while I was in my sleep paralysis moment. And in my mind I would like realize that I would be in it. I would be like, oh my God, wake up, wake up, wake up, like move your arms, like move your legs. And I would literally like force myself and nothing happens. It is the most terrifying shit. Also, I'm so sorry. This channel is gonna, I feel like I'm doing pretty good of not swearing, but excuse me. Yeah, it's the most terrifying thing. I watched a lot of testimonies and videos, and there's I think his name's Stephen BANCARZ. He's really great. He was all the way New Age, and he's very researched and very he just, that person's information and references, amazing. I will link some of his videos also below so you can check those out. Like cards, tarot cards, books, sage, anything that you use in ritual that is connected to that, it will let shit into your house. So this is the deception as well. It's like you're going around, you're doing this ritual, you're smudging your place to clear bad energy. Really what you're doing is you're inviting anything and anything into your house. Went with 2 of my girlfriends from church, and we just like grabbed all of our New Age books, all of our smudge stuff, and we burned it. But I had forgotten some smudge and some things that were still in my bedroom. And when I just was at a point where like I could physically not take more spiritual attacks, and asked my pastor to come in, and my pastor to speak the Holy Spirit over me before I get baptized, because I just needed it to stop, and I wanted to invite Jesus into my heart to be fully armored and basically immune to any kind of attacks from the enemy. And because I started like doing prayers for that specific reason, but again, like I had to do it with the lights on, I could not do it just in the dark. So I had a meeting planned with my pastor the next day. So then that night, it was like the worst. I could hear things in the corner where I still had that smudge stuff and like other ritual things sitting. I could hear very not human things, and it was terrifying. And then in the early morning hours of the next day, I was like in the middle of like waking up, and this white light came in through the top of my head, and it filled out my entire body. And I was like, oh my God, like, is this the Holy Spirit coming into me? Because I was so used to having spiritual experiences that I was like looking for something that is more, just more extreme. And it filled my entire body, and then it lifted my body off the bed. It lit up the entire room. And then again in my mind I was like, oh wow, like that is amazing. Like I really needed something so extreme to trust that this is spiritually the right thing for me. And then I couldn't move. I was suspended in midair. I couldn't move. I was like trying to like let myself fall back into bed. I couldn't move for probably a good like 3 minutes. Then I just stopped and I like dropped to my bed. And then I immediately messaged my pastor, my 2 girlfriends, to have witnesses. And I explained what happened. And they were like, that does not sound like it is of God. Because God is not forceful. God is so gentle. And he would never do something without your consent. And so I again understood that the enemy angel, like disguised as an angel of light, this is how Satan is described in the Bible. He will disguise himself and he will try to deceive you. And that was like his last attempt to keep me with his darkness. And I went to church that day, and they spoke the Holy Spirit over me. And from that day on, everything changed. The atmosphere in my home, so peaceful. I could sleep with the lights off. I was at peace. I was protected. I was filled with joy. It's like an overflow. I literally don't run out of things I'm joyful or grateful for, and it's so beautiful. And also shortly after, I started praying in tongues, and I think I'm gonna make like more videos to like explain certain things, but it took me a while to like understand how that works, because it would just be like, I don't know what I'm saying while I'm praying in tongues, and I'm not supposed to, like I don't need to understand, because it's basically like a direct hotline to God. And sometimes I feel like I'm definitely not praying something over myself, but I'll be praying for somebody else. And I think that is also one of the things that makes my heart so much happier and of service, that that God enables me to pray for other people. And that is the piece that I feel like I was missing, because I was trying to help any and everybody, and I couldn't in New Age. With God, it's just he'll place people on my mind or on my heart to pray for them, just like for myself, like at home. Or he'll place them on my mind and my heart to check in on somebody in a specific matter. And I kid you not, every time they're like, how did you know this? Like, why are you messaging me right now? I'm literally thinking about that right now. And it's truly beautiful. The way the way this vessel connected to God works from such a compassionate and unconditional love, joyful, peaceful place. And I didn't have all those things before. And I'm just so truly grateful that I've come here. He explained literally everything I had been doing up until now, and how I've just been serving the enemy. And that the enemy is, he is quite smart. He's a liar, but he's smart. He will use people around you to get to you. Because once I got to a place where he can't touch me anymore, he will utilize other people that are open to his energy, if that makes sense. Like he will, if that's like through social media, he literally he has all of the tools. But it's very, like now I'm very quite entertained by it. I'm like, I see you, Satan. I know what you're doing. You're being busy, you know, you're on the street working hard, but not today, Satan. Not today. Oh yes, also in my transition, what God did really well. It would be little re-encouragements, because I think the transition period is quite extreme, can be a lot. And I would just, I would get into an Uber, there'd be service, like there would be a pastor on the radio preaching. Or I would get into an Uber and the driver would just start talking about God. Or I would be in Uber, driving somewhere, and on a field would be a huge sign that says, Jesus is the way. And he does these little things to re-encourage and like remind you that you're a child of God. And it was truly beautiful and entertaining as well. Like, I just really loved the personal touches, you know. And also, this is like very small, but like the way but interesting, because I feel like God made me this artistic and made me a dancer. It made me like, music does something to me, you know, dancing, moving, it does something to me. Creative art does something to me. The way he speaks to me is through music a lot of times. So not even worship music, but like I'll be listening to, for example, Shawn Mendes, Wonder, that song. I can hear his voice through that song, and I know exactly which lines he needs me to hear. Cause like, I wonder what it's like to be loved by God, you know? It's the smallest things, but they are so pure, and it's honestly, it is God. When I'm going for a walk and I'm listening to music and something comes up, I like laugh out loud on the street. I don't think I've ever done that, ever. Or like, I'll just be smiling. Like, I feel like, I don't know if I was in my teens, but I would just, because I was so interested in humans, I would observe people, and I still do. I love observing people, not analyzing, but observing, just like what they do. And I feel like I've watched so many women, different women, walk on the street, and some of them would just have this big smile on their face. Like, they're not talking to anybody on the phone, they're not listening to music, they're just walking there smiling. I'm like, you're not walking around with a resting bitch face. But I now know, when I'm walking around and I have the biggest smile on my face, is because probably something God just told me, something that just clicked, where I'm like, oh my God, yes, yes. It's something that brings me so much joy in the moment that I can't contain. It's like the way he fills me is like I can't contain my joy and my happiness and my optimism. Like, it is like complete, I feel like I've done a complete 360 when it comes to my emotions. Like, if I would have depressive moments, I would just be in so deep where I didn't even know how to pull myself back out of it. And sure, like, I still have moments where certain things upset me, or I have emotional things that I need to work through. However, they're not dreadful. They're just more neutral. It's very beautiful, truly. I'm so grateful for it. And God is really good at just teaching gratitude. I am just on a regular basis, just like being grateful for the smallest things. If that's like a flower, I'm like, wow, God, like, you've created this flower for me to look at and appreciate in this moment. So the way, I feel like this is gonna be like the last thing, and I'm gonna close it out because I feel like this has been a lot. The way prayer works, or the way God just wants a relationship with you, okay? God doesn't need you to be super strict, go to church every single day, read the Bible for hours every single day. He's much more applicable than that. And I feel like I might make like a video on like how God drops into my life here and there to like understand better like how that relationship looks. But he just wants a relationship. He wants to hear He wants to hear your worries. He wants to hear your sorrows. He wants to hear what's on your mind. So really, a lot of times in my mind, I'm just talking to him, like while I'm doing the dishes, if I'm out for a walk, just a quick little, hey, just checking in. This is where I'm at. This is bothering me. Like, this is on my mind. This is stressing me out. Like, I just need you to know. And laying everything at his feet, he does provide. He takes care of everything. You have no worries with God. That's probably one of my favorite things, is just like laying in bed before I go to sleep and I can't fall asleep. I just start talking to God and I just drift off. And it's like the most cleansing brain dump. If you've ever done a brain dump, just like journaling, just giving God everything that is on your mind that lays heavy on you, because he does. He takes care of it all. And he always comes through. It is his agenda. It is his timeline. I need to just have courage and walk forward with, this is the true surrender. It's just surrendering to his plan and what he has planned out. There's no way of grasping that. And it is all divinely planned. He knows what he's doing. He knows what's in my heart. He knows what I need. He knows how to build me up. He knows exactly what seasons to put me through to prepare me for other seasons. I think the thing that stuck with me so much in a negative way when I first moved here was somebody in my ex's family was like, God isn't real because so many people are suffering and he doesn't care. One, I now understand that he made us human, so we're going to act human. And humans can be very destructive towards each other. Also, if some sort of whatever spirit has a hold of them, they probably also don't act themselves. There's a lot of evil in the world that is not of God. And also understood, and God will give you challenges. Like, you're not gonna just have the easiest life. That's not how God builds you up. He gives you challenges, but he also equips you for those challenges. He'll never just let you walk into the battlefield without armor, because he doesn't. He does give you the tools and the knowledge and the encouragement, and like he has your back. He's literally behind you, like while you're walking in there. And you just need to trust that you sometimes need to walk through challenges to just get to the next version of you, like the next season that is all part of his plan. Also, sorry that the lighting, the sun, things are changing, but I feel like this is my homecoming story. If there's things that come to my mind that I forgot to mention in here, I will mention them in another video, but I hope that you got something out of this video. What is also very important to me, because I've never been a very pushy person when it comes to my own experiences, views, spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs. I'm not here to force anybody's hand, so I hope that you watching this video is just coming out of curiosity on your own behalf, that you take responsibility for watching this video and not taking this as you need to change your life. However, if you're watching this video and there's things that deeply resonate and where you feel like, oh, there's pieces of truth like clicking in this moment, I hope that you listen to that, because that's all I'm really hoping to do with any and all of my videos, is just sharing my journey. And if that shifts your journey, that is so beautiful and amazing, but I'm not here to force anybody's hand. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer at the end of this video. Probably should have done that at the beginning, but we're here now. Yes, I'm a child of God. I'm a mighty woman of God, and I have never felt more joyful and peaceful and at rest too. I feel like there was a lot of restlessness in New Age for me. And so this is truly like actually being grounded. You know, not grounded by like, oh, I have to put my feet in the grass and I have to ground to the 3D plane. No, I'm actually like grounded. I'm solid in the foundation that is God. And that is all I have for you today. See you in my next video.